Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us for Mental Training Thursdays. And this week's topic is going to be a continuation on our theme of motivation. And it's going to be about maintaining our drive and preparing for challenges along the way. So before we kick into that, we did have a question from last week, and that was from our discussion on fueling our drive by loving tough.
So the question we got posed from last week: my inner critic and my inner hired standards got me to see you. If I let that go and try to be more compassionate, I feel like I lose my edge.
That is a great question, and there's a challenge there with that question in that, this person is recognizing that by having high standards, by having certain expectations, by having a drive, it's gotten them to places of success in athletics or academics, both, and that there's a fear there of not wanting to let go of that and then having performances in either area wane or decrease. So I think the important thing to remember here is that when we were talking last week about shifting your voice to being a more compassionate inner coach, a coach is still going to push you. They're still going to help you strive and achieve. And so it's not really about losing that drive or that push or that edge. It's just about repackaging the way it's being delivered to you. So think of it as you can be both compassionate and challenging rather than what it sounds like maybe the interpretation was, which was if I'm compassionate, that I'm just going to be, oh, it's okay, like everything's fine. And then that would lose that drive or that like, come on, let's go, like you got this, like let's keep moving. So I think that's what I wanted to say in response to this question is that think about it as it can be both. You can have the compassion and you can still have that challenge point. Just think about the way it's being phrased and framed, and if that's ultimately helping support you so that you can keep challenging yourself, or if it's going to be something that's going to detract and negate your ability to keep pushing.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mac. And I want to pull on that thread of kind of this both and approach to what really fuels our motivation. So, I love what you said in terms of, a really good inner coach is someone that doesn't let us off the hook, but they also don't, totally shame us into, falling into pieces either. They really help us kind of take that next step forward. And it really is a kind of a nice segue into what we want to talk to you today about, which is how we maintain motivation, not just by setting our eyes on the destination and passively, hoping for the best to get there, but actually preparing for challenges and obstacles we know get in the way. So kind of even using our own inner coach or inner GPS system to make sure we can check and adjust when obstacles show up for us in terms of what we really want. So the exercise is really building off our Mentalist Monday activity, and we want to bring it to life today. We want to really train it out with you. And it's a goal setting exercise that's been around for about 20 years now. It has some pretty good research behind it, if that's your thing, if that gives it a little more kind of street cred, but we hope you just try it out as an experiment for yourself. And the acronym for this goal setting exercise is WOOP, WOOP, and it stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. And like I alluded to before, the WOOP goal setting, it really helps our motivation, almost like getting a motivational GPS system. So we set our destination. We also know what inner obstacles may show up along the way, and we make a plan for that, to how to check and adjust and continue on our destination, even if it might not look exactly the way we had planned for it. So I'm going to encourage you, who are trying this out at home, at your office, wherever you're at. If you want, take out just a piece of paper. There may be a writing component if you want to do that, or even just have your phone available, maybe the notes section in your phone, or draft an email that you can write this down for. And it's going to combine both imagery and just some reflection. So what I'm going to invite you all to do as we jump into WOOP together, if you want, you can close your eyes, part of Whoop is really using imagery to make our goals come to life. So just at the outset, if it's comfortable for you, you can shut your eyes or find a point in the room just to kind of steady your gaze. And just to center ourselves as we've been doing week after week, maybe cueing into an anchor for you, a physical anchor. So contact with the feet on the floor, contact with your body in your seat, or the breath. Just noticing your inhale and exhale, just landing in this moment together, clearing a little space for this Whoop exercise. And now I'm going to invite us to identify a wish that is very dear to you. And you get to set kind of the time frame for this wish. You could think about the next 24 hours, the week ahead, maybe the end of the semester. And just really lean into this question. See what pops up for you. What is your most important wish for yourself? Something that is challenging, exciting, but also feels attainable and within your control. And then sometimes we have more than one wish. That's allowed. And just for this moment, just connect with what would be the most important wish for you. It could be connected to your training. I want to really push myself a little bit further this week in my training. Could be connected to relationships. I want to find more time for connection. Could be even about school or career. I really want to start that assignment today. And whatever it is, just really picture it in your mind's eye. You can see it, maybe you can even hear it, bring some sounds in. And once you've really connected with that wish, if you want, just so you can have this at the end of the exercise, you can take a moment to open your eyes if they've been closed and just write down 3 to 6 words that really capture this wish for you. And when you're ready, the next part of Whoop is outcome. So when you're ready, you can close your eyes if that's helpful, and just identify what would be the best outcome if I fulfilled this wish. Really lean in to that daydreaming ability that you have. Imagine the best thing that would come your way if you fulfilled this wish. Just holding it in front of your mind. I feel a sense of satisfaction that I kept pushing, in my growth as an athlete during this challenging time. I feel more energy and joy and not so alone. I feel relieved and proud I got that assignment started. Whatever that is, just holding that in your mind's eye. And if it's helpful for you, just writing it down in a short phrase when you're ready. And now I'm going to invite you at your own pace. And if you're at home, you can always pause the video before we move on to each step. We're going to shift gears. This is where that inner coach can come in. We're not going to deny that there's obstacles that show up for us in pursuit of our goals. So really, let's identify what that obstacle might be. So what that is in my control could get in the way of my wish and this best outcome? what inner obstacle might show up and force a little detour in the direction of our goal. And it's helpful here just to use a little bit of humor, some honesty, some recognition that you're not alone in this experience. If pursuing goals was linear and straightforward, life would be pretty boring. And so some of those might be, gosh, you know what? I just don't have it today. I don't feel motivated, feeling the loss of not being with my teammates. That's a real obstacle for sure. Could be I have too much to do, with exams. I can't prioritize my relationships, or I'm just distracted. I've been, doom scrolling or stress scrolling on my Instagram to start that assignment. Whatever that obstacle is, just name it and write it down. This is really the courageous move, to not avoid the thing that can get in the way. And if you need more time, feel free to pause. But if you're ready, we'll go to the last step of WHOOP, the plan. So this is our GPS reorientation. So we're going to assume the obstacle will show up. So I'm going to invite you right now to really fill out this sentence. If this obstacle shows up, if it occurs, when it occurs, then I will do blank to overcome it. What do you need to overcome that obstacle? What do you want to bring to mind? A go-to thought, maybe a go-to person or behavior. For example, when I feel a lull in motivation, I might text a teammate to set a challenge for today's workout, even if we can't do it together. Maybe if I feel too much pressure in terms of what to do, or remind myself the value of relationships. Or when I start to notice distraction, I may put the phone in the other room, X out of some unneeded tabs on my computer, whatever it is, and just visualize that in your mind, practicing that reorientation. And now you've done it. This is WHOOP. This is something that you can train every day as you pursue those longer term goals, or you can set from maybe that wider zoomed out view. And before we close, just give yourself a little bit of gratitude for engaging in this practice. It's a courageous practice to really look at what gets in the way of what can fuel our drive. And if your eyes have been closed, feel free to open them at this time, and we'll jump back in to the rest of our training Thursday.
Thank you so much, Bob. I think what's so important about the mental training Thursdays that we do is that we can bring to life and make a lot of different helpful tips and strategies more tangible and more come to life than reading from what we send out on the Mental Lift Mondays. So hopefully this has given you all an applied understanding of how to use WHOOP as a strategy for recognizing obstacles that, as Bob mentioned, they are going to come up. And it is a brave and courageous choice to make, to acknowledge that they're there and then to do something about that, rather than hope for the best scenario, knowing that sometimes that is not going to be the case. So, in the past, we've used the last couple of weeks this metaphor of a flint and a stone to ignite the spark of motivation. And that's great when you have those things available to you. It gives you the tools, but it might rain and the firewood that you're trying to light might be damp, right? And that would be an obstacle. So if you are already pre-planning and thinking about obstacles that might appear, then you can have that plan component of WHOOP for how to navigate it. And that way you're not losing that spark, you're not losing that ignite. You can rework it and find a way to still make it happen. So thanks so much for joining us today. And as always, join us next week. We are going to be talking about paying attention to your attention. And as always, if you have questions from today's Mental Training Thursday, don't hesitate to reach out to us, more specifically to Bob, who you can email at robert.dehl, D-I-E-H-L, @colorado.edu, and we'll use the first few minutes to answer those questions. And as always, to wrap up with a quote, this is from Audre Lorde. "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." Thanks so much, and go Buffs.